So we will be looking at writing a function that returns a value, and this is how most of the languages operate, like C, C++, or Java. And Visual Basic has two types. One is a procedure, the other is a function, and functions return values. So what that means is, let's say this is your main, and you call a function, let's say add two values, right, x and y. Let's pretend that there is a function called add, and it takes a comma b as value, and it returns a plus b. It adds and returns. You can assign the return value to, say, z equal to add x comma y. So this is a sample function, right? This function can do anything. It can, here we just add two numbers and return the value. But in general, the typical function is basically you call this function and it does something and gets you the value back, and you can assign it to any variable that you want. So this is how functions operate, and they take values either by value or by reference also. So you can do both. So we are going to look at one option, which is to return a random number. So we are going to I'm going to this is a get a random number, okay, and it does something. It returns a random number from 1 to 100, any one random number. So this function you have to define, saying in Visual Basic or anything like that, saying that what is a return type. Return type is integer, right? So there's a syntax for that. You need to specify a syntax for that. We will look into it. So here, and let's say here z equal to get a random. Whatever the return type should match the return type of z, so that they can be assigned, right? You can't have an integer here and a string here. Obviously that's a mismatch, so that will be wrong. So if there's an integer here, you should have an integer here. If you have a string here, you should have a string here. Okay, so let's look at the code here. And here I declare temp as integer, and temp equal to get a random number is a function. By looking at it, you wouldn't know whether it's a function or not. And if you go down the if you go down here, there it is, get a random number, this clearly states as a function, right? And this is a return type. This is how you define return type, as integer. So this guy is returning an integer. So we are doing some magic here to get the random number, and in the end we're returning that value. See, return value, the random number. So this is how you function, and then you have a keyword end function. All right, and so functions has to return something, and you go back to how we call, right? This is how we call temp as integer, temp equal to get a random number, and then we write it, right? So let's run it. So every time you run it, you should give a different random number. Let's do that. So here we got 71. We ran it once. Let's run it one more time. And here it's 13. Kill it. Run one more time. 66. So you see that? So basically the actual algorithm is done elsewhere, but we are able to use it repeatedly, right? You're using repeat. I can do it one more time, right? See that? I can do one more time. So now I get twice 50, 66 and 58, right? So I can call as many times as possible. Yeah, so let's try this. Let's try this repeatedly 10 times, right? How we do it? How we do it? While you can say a is greater than 0. So I'm going to call repeatedly, and 10 a equal to 5. That means I'm going to call 5 times, and this is a while loop. And let's see how it works, right? You see that? I call 5 times. Every time it is a different random number. Yeah? So if you one more time, it's a different random number. So you see, one function, the basic idea of a function is, or any method is, the actual recipe is hidden in this, right? The actual how it gets done, the main method doesn't know, it doesn't care, but you have to look into the function to see how it's done. So this is called hidden. The whole algorithm is hidden for main, right? The main doesn't know how it does, only this number function knows how to get the random number. So all the implementation details are hidden in a function, and all we care is get me a random number. Yeah. So that is the use of function. Functions return values. Functions return take parameters. All that. Yeah. For example, if you want to get a random number between two numbers, right? Let's say I gave between let's say B C. Let's say C as integer. I call 50. Between 10 and 50 I'm going to call. So I have to change this function basically. So let's do that, right? B comma C. So I'm asking it to generate two random numbers, generate a random number between 10 and 50. So I need to I'm passing, so I need to change this routine using those two values, right? By value, x as integer, by value, y as integer. This is kind of a big function that we're writing, and we're going to, I said between those two numbers, right? So this is x. I'm going to add x to the difference between y minus x. Yeah, between these two numbers. So let's try that. So I change with now a pass value. So this is going to return me a random number between 10 and 50, right? So if I do it, you see that 18, 25. So look at this, how it does, and experiment yourself. All right, how we do this. Okay, so that is how functions are defined and returned in all languages actually. Thank you.